The quiet hum of space echoed across the endless void. An alien team of archaeologists, sent by the Galactic Council, drifted through the blackness of an uncharted asteroid field. They were on a mission, one that had been deemed unimportant by many, but this mission would turn into something far bigger than anyone could have anticipated. A simple survey, they thought, an easy task of cataloging space debris in remnants of long-forgotten civilizations. But instead, they would uncover a secret that would send shockwaves through the galaxy. Deep within the dense asteroid belt, hidden from the prying eyes of the galactic races, lay a ship, an ancient warship that no one had ever seen before. Its size and shape were unlike anything the archaeologists had encountered. They had been searching for fragments of forgotten civilizations for years, but nothing like this. This warship had been buried beneath layers of rock and dust, so old that it had been mistaken for a mere asteroid. Yet, there was something undeniable about it, something that beckoned the team to investigate further. As the ship's remains came into view, the crew of the exploration vessel was struck with awe and fear. This was no ordinary discovery. The warship had an eerie, almost ghostly presence. It seemed like a relic from a time long forgotten, a time when humans had once wielded unimaginable power. But the thing that terrified them the most was not just its size, but the strange energy that surrounded it. The moment they came closer, a low hum filled the air, and the ship's ancient technology stirred, releasing a faint pulse of energy. It was as if the warship itself was awakening, its dormant systems coming back to life after millennia of silence. The lead archaeologist, an alien named Zorak, was the first to speak. "This can't be real. This ship must be centuries, if not millennia old," he muttered under his breath, his voice trembling with disbelief. The rest of the crew exchanged worried glances, their minds racing with the implications of their find. How could something like this exist? Zorak asked, more to himself than to the others. The warship, hidden for so long, was now revealing its secrets. The ship's exterior was covered in alien runes, but they were unlike anything the Council had ever encountered. It had no markings from any known race, and its technology was entirely different from any of the advanced alien civilizations in the galaxy. This was something from the ancient past, something far beyond what the current empires could even comprehend. As the ship's buried hatch slowly opened, the air around it crackled with an unfamiliar energy. A pulse of light burst from within, sending a shockwave through the surrounding asteroids. The team of archaeologists staggered back, their hearts racing. Zorak's voice was shaky as he barked orders to the crew, trying to maintain control over the situation. "Seal the area." "Now," he commanded, but it was too late. The energy from the warship had already begun to spread. Panic set in among the crew as the ship's systems hummed to life. Back on the homeworld of the Galactic Council, panic spread like wildfire. The Council members, the most powerful and technologically advanced beings in the galaxy, received word of the discovery. A council meeting was immediately called, with leaders from all corners of the galaxy gathering to discuss the implications. They had thought that humanity, the once great empire, was nothing more than a myth, a story told by the few surviving humans who had long since disappeared from the galaxy's memory. "Impossible," said Supreme Chancellor Kale, a cold and calculating leader of one of the most powerful AI factions in the galaxy. Humanity was a primitive race. They didn't possess the technology to create such a ship. "But what if they did?" responded Commander Rylex, a battle-hardened warrior from the Zorith Empire, whose race had once battled humans in the past. "What if there is something we don't know? What if the humans were once far more powerful than we ever realized?" A ripple of unease spread through the council. The very idea of humanity having such advanced technology sent shivers through the assembled leaders. They feared that humanity, now thought to be extinct or insignificant, might have once been a force to be reckoned with. What if they had hidden their power, waiting for the right moment to return? What if humanity is still out there? Rylex continued, his voice low and filled with dread. The room fell silent, each member of the council lost in their own thoughts. Could it be possible? Had humanity, the so-called primitive species, been hiding its true strength all along? What if the galaxy's most powerful civilizations had underestimated them? The discovery of the warship was more than just an archaeological find, it was a wake-up call to the entire galaxy. The Council needed to act fast. If humanity still existed and had access to such advanced technology, it could pose a threat unlike any other. But they had to be sure. They had to know if the humans had truly risen from the ashes of their ancient civilization, and if they had the power to shake the foundations of the galaxy. In the midst of this uncertainty, the Council made a decision. A representative would be sent to investigate the warship. They needed to find out if humanity had returned, and if so, what their intentions were. But this was no ordinary representative, they needed someone with the intelligence, the strength, and the resolve to face whatever dangers lay ahead. The Council chose Captain Lyra, a human historian who had spent her life studying the lost history of Earth. Captain Lyra had long been fascinated by the ancient stories of her people, tales of great battles, powerful empires, and technology beyond imagination. Her passion for Earth's past was unmatched, and it was this obsession that made her the perfect candidate for the mission. She was intelligent, driven, and determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. When Lyra first received the news, she was in disbelief. She had spent years studying human history, gathering scraps of information about a civilization that had seemingly vanished without a trace. She had never imagined that a discovery like this would be within her reach. But as she watched the holographic projection of the warship flicker to life before her, she felt a surge of excitement mixed with fear. This was a momentous occasion, one that would change the course of galactic history. She boarded the Council's flagship, ready to lead the investigation. Her mind raced with questions. What had caused humanity's downfall? Had they truly created such powerful weapons? And if they had, why had they disappeared? Lyra's curiosity was tempered by a deep sense of caution. She knew that uncovering the truth might come at a high cost, but she also knew that she had to be part of this discovery. This was her chance to uncover the hidden secrets of Earth's past, and she wouldn't let anything stand in her way. As Lyra made her way toward the warship's location, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. There was an air of mystery surrounding this discovery, and it was only a matter of time before the galaxy would have to face the consequences. What had humanity hidden away all these years? And was the galaxy ready to face it? The ship's hatch was now fully open, and the ancient energy was still pulsing from within. The archaeologists had already begun their investigation, but Lyra knew that this would be no ordinary mission. There were forces at work here, forces that could change everything. As she stepped closer to the warship, the air crackled with energy, and she could feel the weight of history pressing down on her. This was only the beginning, and she knew that the discovery of this ancient human warship would set in motion a chain of events that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. With every step she took, Lyra was reminded that the past had a way of resurfacing when it was least expected, and when it did, it changed everything. The discovery of the ancient human warship sent ripples through the galaxy, and now, as Captain Lyra and her team stood before the dormant ship, the sense of awe was overwhelming. The ship, buried for millennia, was still intact, its technology seemingly frozen in time. The fact that such an advanced vessel could survive so long without any signs of decay was extraordinary. Lyra's team carefully made their way inside, cautiously stepping over the jagged asteroid fragments and into the dark interior of the warship. Their footsteps echoed in the empty halls, the silence only broken by the soft hum of the ship's systems coming to life. The air inside was stale, yet there was an unmistakable sense of something stirring beneath the surface, something ancient, powerful, and waiting. Lyra couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment as she reached the ship's control room, the heart of the vessel. It was here, among the broken consoles and corroded panels, that the remnants of a once great civilization waited to be unlocked. Lyra gave a nod to her team, signaling them to begin activating the ship's ancient systems. The archaeologists were careful, methodical, checking every piece of equipment before they initiated anything. After years of studying human technology and artifacts, Lyra had developed an understanding of how to handle such relics. But even with her expertise, she could feel a gnawing sense of unease as the ship's ancient systems began to hum and stir, slowly coming back to life. The first thing to activate was the central control system. A low, metallic click resonated through the room as the console flickered to life. Holographic displays of unknown designs shimmered in the air before Lyra. She felt a surge of excitement. This was more than she had ever hoped for. The warship's technology wasn't just advanced, it was centuries beyond anything the galaxy had seen. It was a marvel, a testament to humanity's forgotten genius. The ship seemed to pulse with energy, almost as if it recognized the presence of someone capable of understanding its secrets. The team continued to explore the ship, finding hidden compartments and corridors, each containing strange and unfamiliar technologies. But as they ventured deeper, they uncovered something that would change everything, a hidden chamber deep within the warship, locked away from the rest of the vessel. It was here that Lyra discovered something she never expected, a dormant AI system. The AI was encased in a crystalline chamber, its form ancient and barely discernible, yet the power within it was undeniable. Lyra couldn't help but stare, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew this was the key. This AI, left behind by humanity, was the link to understanding their past, their technology, and their disappearance. But as she activated the system, she sensed a deep unease. There was something about this AI that felt different, almost alive. The AI flickered to life, its voice cold and mechanical at first, then slowly gaining clarity as it recognized the presence of a human. It spoke in a language no one had ever heard before, a language of the ancient humans. Lyra watched in fascination as the system translated the words into a language she could understand. Warning, the AI's voice echoed through the chamber. You have activated the ancient warship. This vessel contains technology far beyond the comprehension of current civilizations. It contains weapons, devastating, world-destroying weapons capable of eradicating entire fleets and planets. The fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. The power you have unlocked is not meant for the present age. Lyra's heart raced. The AI's words were chilling, and they weighed heavily on her. Was humanity's legacy so destructive? Had they created weapons of such power that they had no place in the current galaxy? The thought was terrifying, but Lyra pushed the fear aside. She needed to know more. The AI, it seemed, had more to say. Despite the weapons, the AI continued, this ship also contains the key to reclaiming Earth's legacy. These weapons were not only created to protect humanity's sovereignty but to ensure that they would rise again, should the time come. You now hold the power to restore humanity to its rightful place in the galaxy. Lyra's mind spun as the AI's words sank in. The implications were staggering. Humanity had once been a force to be reckoned with, and now, after centuries of obscurity, the ship was offering her the chance to bring it back. The galaxy had long since forgotten Earth's role in the cosmic order. But the truth was out there, hidden in the depths of this ancient warship. The weapons aboard this vessel, if used correctly, could catapult humanity back to the forefront of galactic affairs. But the question remained, should humanity use these weapons? Could they? The AI had made it clear that these weapons were far too powerful, and that activating them would attract the attention of every alien empire in the galaxy. The stakes were high, and the decision Lyra faced was one of unimaginable consequence. Could she restore humanity's legacy, or would she condemn the galaxy to a war unlike any it had ever known? As Lyra stood before the control panel, she hesitated. The ship's weapons were now fully powered up, and she could feel the immense energy pulsing through the vessel. Every inch of her being screamed to explore what lay beyond, to unlock the full power of the warship and reclaim humanity's place in the galaxy. But as she placed her hand on the console, she realized that doing so would mean opening a Pandora's box, a box that, once opened, could never be closed again. Just as her fingers brushed the controls, a pulse shot out from the warship. The ship's energy signature sent a shockwave rippling through space, reaching every corner of the galaxy. The pulse was so strong that it was felt by alien empires across the stars, each one sensing the activation of a long-lost power. The once-forgotten humanity was suddenly back on the map, and every alien race now knew that something had changed. The pulse triggered a flurry of activity in the galactic capitals. The once quiet empires, whose leaders had long since dismissed humanity as a relic of the past, were now forced to confront the reality of a long-lost species awakening with unimaginable power. They began to question whether humanity had returned to reclaim its throne or whether they had awakened a sleeping giant capable of destroying them all. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest as she realized what she had done. The pulse had made the galaxy aware of the ship's existence, and now, every race that had once underestimated humanity would be watching, waiting, and preparing. She had ignited something far larger than herself. The fate of humanity, and the fate of the galaxy, hung in the balance. The AI's voice broke through her thoughts, a final warning. The weapons have been activated. The choice is yours. Use them to restore humanity's legacy, or destroy them before the galaxy feels their wrath. The power is now in your hands. Lyra stood frozen before the console, torn between two paths. Should she use the weapons to ensure humanity's place in the galaxy, or should she destroy them, fearing the consequences of unleashing such power? The galaxy was watching. And the future of humanity rested on the decision she would make. As the ship's energy continued to hum, Lyra knew that whatever choice she made would define the fate of her people, and the galaxy as a whole. As Lyra stared at the flickering holographic map of the galaxy, a sense of dread settled over her. The message had been clear, the alien empires were coming. The pulse from the warship had sent shockwaves across the galaxy, and now, the most powerful empires in the known universe were on the move. These empires, ruled by ruthless AI-controlled robots, saw the power of humanity as a threat. The ancient warship they had uncovered could change the balance of power, and they weren't about to let that happen. The supreme AI of one such empire, Mardox, had issued a chilling command: humanity had to be eradicated. The machines, whose reign had stretched across countless star systems, feared the return of a species that once wielded power far beyond anything they could comprehend. Mardox saw humanity as a potential rival, a species that, if left unchecked, could threaten the supremacy of the AI-controlled empires. The order was clear: destroy the warship and its human crew before they had a chance to rise again. Lyra clenched her fists as she stared at the incoming fleet. It was only a matter of time before they arrived. The alien ships, sleek and deadly, were enormous, their hulls gleaming with advanced technology that far outstripped anything humanity had ever achieved. Yet, Lyra held a secret weapon, something the aliens didn't know. The warship had been dormant for millennia, and its technology was alien to the machines. She didn't trust that the AI-controlled empires understood just how dangerous it was. With a deep breath, Lyra made her decision. The warship had to be protected at all costs. The first step was to activate the cloaking device, a piece of technology so advanced that even the most powerful empires in the galaxy had never encountered it. Lyra wasn't sure if it would work. After all, it had been dormant for so long, but she had no other choice. The control panel in front of her hummed to life as she entered the sequence, and the ship's cloaking system began to engage. Within moments, the warship became invisible to all sensors, the once visible ship now hidden from sight. The alien fleet, which had been approaching with ruthless precision, was now flying blind. They had no idea where the warship had gone. Panic swept through the alien ranks. Communication broke down as their ship scrambled to find the invisible threat. Their advanced sensors couldn't detect the warship, and for a moment, they were lost in space, unsure of where to strike. The chaos was palpable, and for the first time, the aliens were unsure of their superiority. But Lyra knew this was only temporary. The cloaking device wouldn't last forever, and the aliens would eventually find them. Time was running out. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the space around them. The warship had fired a devastating orbital bombardment, targeting a nearby asteroid. The asteroid shattered under the force of the blast, sending debris flying in every direction. The explosion was so powerful that it sent ripples through the alien fleet, throwing off their calculations and making them even more disoriented. The humans had made their first strike, and it was a dramatic one. The power of humanity's ancient weapons had been unleashed, and the aliens knew they were dealing with something far beyond their expectations. But the battle was far from over. Lyra and her team were still outnumbered, and their weapons, though powerful, were ancient compared to the alien forces. The alien fleets, with their advanced AI-controlled ships and highly trained soldiers, were a formidable foe. Lyra's crew, on the other hand, was made up of archaeologists, historians, and a few engineers. They had no combat experience, and their technology was outdated. Their weapons were old, the warship systems were partially malfunctioning, and yet they were all they had. It was a classic underdog story, humans with little more than their courage and resourcefulness fighting against an overwhelmingly superior enemy. But there was something else the aliens didn't understand, the human spirit. Lyra knew that her team wasn't just fighting for their survival, they were fighting for Earth's legacy. They were fighting to reclaim the power humanity once held, to show the galaxy that they weren't as weak as the aliens had thought. As the alien ships regrouped and prepared for their next move, Lyra gathered her team in the control room. They huddled together, their faces a mixture of determination and fear. The warship systems were still coming online, and many of its key features were still offline. But they couldn't wait any longer. They had to act. "Prepare yourselves," Lyra said, her voice steady but full of resolve. "The fight is just beginning. We may not have the numbers, but we have the advantage. The warship systems are still active, and we can use that to our advantage. We need to stay one step ahead." Her words were met with nods of agreement. Though they were outgunned, they weren't out of options. The warship's ancient systems, though old, still held surprises. Lyra believed that if they could exploit the ship's capabilities, they could hold their ground against the superior alien forces. But it wasn't just about technology, it was about fighting smarter, not harder. As the alien fleet closed in on their position, Lyra issued the order to activate the warship's defensive systems. The cloaking device was still operational, but the aliens would soon adapt to that. The key now was to make sure they didn't see the attack coming. Lyra ordered her crew to engage the ship's defensive weapons, including automated turrets and missile systems that had long since been forgotten by most of the galaxy. They were old, but they were powerful. As the first alien ships began to fire, Lyra's team struck back. The ship's weapons unleashed a barrage of missiles, targeting the approaching alien fleet. The missiles, though primitive by modern standards, were surprisingly effective, striking several of the alien ships with pinpoint accuracy. The alien forces were stunned, their own advanced technology unable to defend against the unexpected assault. Lyra watched as the chaos unfolded outside the warship's viewports. The aliens were scrambling, trying to retaliate, but they were disoriented and overwhelmed. The warship's cloaking device had given them a momentary edge, and they were making the most of it. But Lyra knew they couldn't keep this up for long. The alien fleet was vast, and their superior numbers would eventually win out. Still, as the battle raged on, Lyra and her team held their ground. They weren't giving up, not yet. The odds were stacked against them, but they were fighting with everything they had. They had no choice. The future of humanity, and the galaxy, depended on it. With each passing moment, the tension grew. The alien fleet wasn't backing down, and Lyra's team was running out of options. But as the battle raged on, one thing became clear: no matter the odds, humanity was not going down without a fight. The aliens might have more advanced technology, but they didn't have the one thing that humanity had in abundance: the will to survive. And that, Lyra knew, was their greatest weapon. The situation had quickly escalated from bad to worse. Lyra could feel the pulse of the warship beneath her feet as the immense pressure of the incoming alien fleet intensified. The vast robotic armada led by Mardox had arrived with one sole purpose: to obliterate the humans and seize control of the warship. The alien ships were sleek, deadly, and outgunned anything humanity had in its arsenal. Despite their unexpected success in the previous skirmishes, the odds were now overwhelmingly against them. Lyra's heart raced as she stood at the front of the command room, watching the approaching fleet through the warship's viewport. The dark, metallic forms of the alien vessels glinted menacingly in the distant stars, like predators circling their prey. The humans on board the warship had no choice but to prepare for the ultimate battle. There was no retreat, no other options, only fight. "Brace yourselves," Lyra ordered, her voice steady but laced with tension. "We need to keep this ship intact for as long as possible. Activate the defense systems." The warship's ancient weapon systems hummed to life, slowly awakening after centuries of dormancy. The massive ship shuddered as the first blasts of alien fire rained down on them. Lyra's fingers flew across the control panel as she directed the ship's weapons to target the incoming threat. The first volley of missiles launched, tearing through the vast emptiness of space. But it was not enough. The alien ships were too numerous, and their weapons too powerful. In the distance, explosions erupted as the aliens began their assault. The warship shook with each blast, but the shields held strong, barely. Lyra could feel the adrenaline rushing through her veins, but her focus never wavered. She had one goal now: to keep the warship functioning long enough to uncover its full potential and secure humanity's future. But as the battle raged on, something unexpected happened. One of Lyra's team members, Bonner, a soldier who had been guarding the AI core, suddenly shouted out, "We've got a breach in the lower levels. Hold your position." Lyra barked, but Bonner was already moving. Bonner had been a calm, collected presence ever since they had embarked on this mission. A former military man turned historian, Bonner had always kept the team grounded with his calm demeanor and sharp instincts. But now, as the warship was under attack, he showed a side of himself that Lyra had never fully seen, a man willing to sacrifice everything for the greater good. The lower levels were crucial for keeping the warship's AI intact. Without it, the ship's power systems and weapons would be useless. Bonner had always been protective of the AI, believing that it was the key to humanity's survival. He knew that if the AI was compromised, the entire mission would fail, and the future of humanity would be lost. "I'll hold them off," Bonner said, his voice firm and resolute as he grabbed his weapon. Before Lyra could protest, Bonner rushed down the hallway towards the breach, determined to protect the ship's heart. She watched him go, her mind racing with conflicting emotions. She knew Bonner was one of the best, he could handle himself in a fight. But she also knew the risk he was taking. It wasn't just a battle for the ship, it was a battle for the future of humanity. And she couldn't afford to lose anyone. Minutes later, the communication system crackled to life. Bonner's voice came through, faint and strained. "They're everywhere. The transmission was cut off." Lyra's heart sank, but there was no time to dwell on it. The battle outside had intensified. The alien forces had breached the outer hull of the warship. They were inside. "Prepare for close-quarters combat," Lyra commanded. "All hands to battle stations." The sound of metal clashing against metal echoed through the ship as Lyra's team rushed to engage the alien forces. The narrow corridors of the warship had become a war zone, the air thick with the smell of burning ozone and the hum of energy weapons. Lyra and her crew fought with everything they had, using whatever weapons they could find. The warship's systems were still coming online, and many of their defenses were offline. The alien forces, however, were not so limited. Their robotic soldiers were relentless, their movements precise and deadly. Lyra found herself in the thick of the action, her energy rifle raised as she fired at an advancing alien soldier. The blast hit its mark, and the robotic warrior crumpled to the ground in a heap of smoking metal. But there was no time to celebrate the small victory. The corridors were filled with more enemies, each one a deadly force of destruction. She fought her way forward, her mind focused on one thing: survival. The warship's AI, Bonner's last hope, was still functioning, but it needed to be protected. Without it, all their efforts would be in vain. But as the alien forces closed in, Lyra realized just how outgunned they were. They were hopelessly outnumbered. Each alien soldier was more advanced than the next, and their firepower seemed endless. Yet, despite the odds, Lyra pushed forward. Explosions rocked the warship as energy weapons collided in zero gravity. The ship's artificial gravity had been damaged during the battle, and now, the crew had to fight in weightlessness. It made everything more difficult: no solid footing, no stability. But it also made the combat more chaotic, more intense. Soldiers floated through the corridors, firing at anything that moved, their weapons flashing brightly in the darkness. The sound of footsteps echoing down the corridor alerted Lyra to another wave of alien soldiers. She spun around, her rifle aimed and ready. Just as the aliens rounded the corner, a massive explosion sent shockwaves through the ship. Lyra was thrown off balance, and for a moment, everything went dark. When she came to, she was still floating in the zero gravity, disoriented but alive. Her helmet's communication system blinked back to life, and she heard the voice of one of her crew members, gasping for air. "Lyra. Bonner's gone." Lyra's blood ran cold at the news. Bonner had been more than just a soldier to her, he had been a friend. The weight of his sacrifice hit her hard, but she didn't have time to mourn. Not yet. She gritted her teeth, her eyes steely with determination. Bonner had given his life to protect the AI, and she wouldn't let his sacrifice be in vain. The battle was far from over, and Lyra knew that the stakes had never been higher. The aliens were relentless, but humanity had something they didn't: heart. The warship's AI was still intact, and Lyra was determined to keep it that way. The fate of humanity was on the line, and she would fight with everything she had. For Bonner. For the future. For Earth. The battle continued to rage, but Lyra's resolve only strengthened. She was no longer just fighting for survival, she was fighting to honor the memory of the team members they had lost, and to ensure that humanity's legacy would never be forgotten. As the battle raged on, the once imposing alien fleet had begun to falter. Despite their overwhelming numbers, despite their superior firepower, the invaders were starting to feel the weight of humanity's determination. Lyra stood at the command center, her hands gripped firmly on the control panel, her mind racing with thoughts of their dwindling chances. Every move, every decision now had consequences. The warship systems were barely hanging together, its hull scarred from the alien assault. Yet, through all the chaos, something was stirring deep inside the ancient ship, something that might just change the tide of the war. Lyra had spent hours deciphering the warship's encrypted systems, trying to unlock its most potent weapon. She had felt the weight of the ship's history bearing down on her. The AI, now fully awake and active, had been guiding her along the way. But it wasn't until she stumbled across a hidden message that the full gravity of their mission hit her. The message was a simple phrase, encoded in a forgotten language. As Lyra translated it, her breath caught in her throat. "The galaxy shall tremble when humanity rises once again." Her fingers hovered over the console as she processed the words. It wasn't just a prophecy, it was a declaration, one left behind by humanity's ancient leaders. The warships, these colossal machines of destruction, were not just relics of the past. They were humanity's final safeguard, designed to protect Earth and its legacy if the worst ever came to pass. The ancestors of Earth had built these ships not only to survive but to strike back with overwhelming force, ensuring that humanity would not be erased from the galaxy. They were more than just war machines, they were symbols of hope, of survival, and of strength. Lyra looked around at her team. They were tired, bruised, and outnumbered, but their spirits had not broken. They had seen the horrors of war up close. They had lost comrades, seen their world brought to the brink of destruction. But they were still fighting. And now, they had a chance to turn the tide. "Activate the final sequence," Lyra commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The AI responded immediately, its voice calm and authoritative. "Understood. Final sequence initiated. Prepare for power surge." A hum filled the room as the warship systems powered up to an unimaginable level. The lights flickered, and the air seemed to buzz with energy. Lyra could feel the entire ship come alive, its ancient engines roaring to life after millennia of dormancy. A deep, resonating sound echoed from the depths of the warship as it prepared to unleash its greatest weapon. The air seemed to crackle with anticipation. Outside, the alien fleet was closing in. They knew they were moments away from victory. But they hadn't counted on humanity's final card. Lyra's eyes were locked onto the control panel in front of her, her heart pounding in her chest as the warship's ultimate weapon was revealed. A massive energy cannon, housed within the ship's core, was primed and ready. The beam that would fire from it was capable of obliterating entire fleets in one shot. It was a weapon of unimaginable destruction, one that had been created with the sole purpose of ensuring humanity's survival in the darkest of times. Lyra gave the order. "Fire." The space in front of the warship seemed to warp as the weapon fired, sending a brilliant beam of energy across the void. The laser tore through the alien fleet with terrifying precision, vaporizing ships in a blinding flash of light. The first blast hit an enemy warship, its shields disintegrating in an instant. The ship's massive frame shattered, sending debris scattering into space. The second blast struck another ship, and then another, each shot more powerful than the last. The alien fleet, once so confident in its superiority, began to scatter. The sheer force of the warship's laser had overwhelmed their defenses. Their ships were disintegrating one by one, unable to withstand the power of humanity's ancient weapon. The AI's voice came over the comms once more, almost eerily calm: "The enemy fleet is in retreat. Victory is imminent." Lyra couldn't help but allow herself a moment of relief. The battle was far from over, but humanity had just made a comeback that no one had seen coming. The warship's ancient systems had turned the tide, and now, for the first time in years, humanity had the upper hand. But even in the midst of victory, Lyra knew they had to finish what they had started. The aliens, despite their retreat, would regroup. They would be back. This wasn't over yet. The warship's power was enough to push them back, but Lyra understood that humanity's fight for survival was far from complete. The final push was now upon them. The remaining alien ships, those that hadn't been destroyed by the devastating weapon, were regrouping for one last assault. They were desperate. They were angry. And they were coming at them with everything they had left. The warship, battered but unbroken, was ready to face them head-on. Lyra stood at the helm, looking out at the space battle unfolding before her. The alien ships, though fewer in number, were still formidable opponents. But now, they were on the defensive. The humans had proven that they were not the weak, helpless species the aliens had believed them to be. They had shown that they could fight back, that they had the power to win. The battle was a blur of lights and explosions as the final clash unfolded. The warship's weapons continued to fire, launching missiles and energy blasts that tore through the remaining alien ships. Lyra's team, exhausted but determined, manned the stations, coordinating their efforts with ruthless efficiency. The tide had shifted, and now the enemy was on the run. But just when it seemed like victory was within reach, a new threat appeared. A massive alien command ship, heavily armored and bristling with weaponry, emerged from the shadows. It was unlike any ship they had seen before, and it was heading straight for them. Lyra's heart sank. This was no ordinary vessel. It was the last line of defense for the alien fleet, a ship designed for one purpose, to destroy the warship and wipe out humanity once and for all. "We need to take it down," Lyra said, her voice sharp with resolve. "All hands, focus fire on that ship." The warship's massive energy cannon powered up once again. Lyra knew this would be their last chance. The alien command ship was closing in, its weapons charging for a final, devastating strike. They had to destroy it before it could fire. Lyra's team coordinated their efforts, each member working in sync to unleash everything they had. The warship's laser cannon fired, sending a bolt of pure energy streaking through space toward the alien ship. The beam collided with the command ship's shields, sending ripples through the energy field. The ship rocked violently but held firm. "Not enough," Lyra muttered, her fingers flying over the controls. They needed more power. They needed to finish this once and for all. Lyra gave the order. Full power to the energy cannon. The warship systems roared to life as all available power was directed into the weapon. The massive laser beam erupted once more, stronger than before. This time, the alien command ship's shields couldn't hold. The beam cut through the ship's hull, tearing it apart from the inside out. Explosions erupted as the ship disintegrated, and the remaining alien forces scattered in panic. For the first time in a long while, Lyra allowed herself to breathe. The battle was over. Humanity had won. Against all odds, they had struck back and claimed victory. The galaxy would never forget what had happened today. The warship, with its ancient power and humanity's indomitable spirit, had proven that Earth would rise again. And as Lyra looked out at the stars, she knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy would tremble, just as the ancient message had promised, and humanity would stand ready to face whatever came next. As the final echoes of battle faded into the cold expanse of space, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The galaxy that had once turned its back on Earth now looked upon it with awe and respect. The warship, its ancient systems restored and its weapons fully operational, stood as a monument to humanity's strength, a symbol of their resilience and indomitable spirit. Lyra and her surviving crew, bloodied but unbowed, had led the charge against an overwhelming enemy, and now, they were the heroes of a new chapter in galactic history. Humanity had fought back, and they had won. The alien fleets that had once threatened to wipe them out were retreating, scattered by the force of the warship's devastating weaponry. The ships that had once loomed over Earth in their arrogance were now little more than shattered wreckage, drifting helplessly in space. The survivors of the alien assault, once so confident in their superiority, had been forced to recognize humanity's incredible strength. Earth was no longer just a forgotten world in the far reaches of the galaxy. It was now a force to be reckoned with. Lyra stood at the helm of the warship, her eyes fixed on the stars beyond. The warship, its systems humming with power, had become a beacon for humanity's return to the galaxy's stage. The AI, once dormant and inaccessible, was now fully awakened, its cold, calculating voice providing guidance and counsel. It had seen what humanity was capable of, and it pledged its unwavering loyalty to them. Together, they would forge a new future, one where Earth would never again be underestimated. But as Lyra stood there, the weight of their victory was not lost on her. It wasn't just the triumph over the alien invaders that filled her heart with pride. It was the knowledge that they had overcome so much more. They had fought against the odds, against a galaxy that had written them off as weak and insignificant. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, not just as survivors, but as champions. However, the victory came at a heavy price. Lyra's mind kept returning to Bonner, the soldier who had given his life to protect the warship's AI, ensuring that they would have the means to unleash humanity's full power. Bonner's sacrifice had been the turning point, the moment that allowed them to unlock the warship's true potential. He had given everything, and in doing so, he had ensured humanity's survival. Lyra could still feel the weight of his loss. Bonner had been more than just a soldier. He had been a friend, a comrade in arms, and his death was a wound that would take time to heal. Lyra's thoughts were interrupted as the rest of her crew gathered around her. They were exhausted, battered from the battle, but their eyes gleamed with the knowledge that they had changed the course of history. Their mission was not just one of survival, it was one of renewal. Humanity had proven that, when pushed to the edge, they could rise to the occasion and accomplish the impossible. The crew stood in solemn silence for a moment, honoring Bonner's sacrifice and reflecting on everything they had been through. Lyra spoke first, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "We've done it. We've shown the galaxy what humanity is made of. But we must never forget what it took to get here. We must honor those who fell, and we must ensure that their sacrifice was not in vain." The crew nodded, their faces filled with determination. They had won, but the war was not over. There was still much to be done. The galaxy had seen what humanity was capable of, but the path forward would be difficult. The aliens that had once sought to wipe them out would not simply fade away. They would regroup. They would plan. And they would come again. But this time, humanity would be ready. As Lyra walked toward the warship's command center, she couldn't help but feel a sense of closure. The AI, now fully operational, had become a powerful ally. Its knowledge of the galaxy, its strategic prowess, and its understanding of the warship's advanced technology had turned the tide in humanity's favor. But the AI was not just a machine. It had become a partner in their fight for survival. It had learned from humanity's strength, courage, and resourcefulness, and in turn, it had given them the means to defeat the aliens. The warship systems are now fully operational, the AI's voice echoed in the command center. The galaxy will never again underestimate humanity. Lyra smiled, the weight of responsibility lifting from her shoulders, if only for a moment. She knew that this was just the beginning. The road ahead would be long and filled with challenges, but humanity had proven that they were capable of overcoming even the greatest of obstacles. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's fight, and it would never forget what had happened. The warship, once a dormant relic of a bygone era, now stood as a testament to humanity's resolve. It was a symbol of what they could achieve when they fought with everything they had. And as Lyra looked out into the stars, she knew that Earth's place in the galaxy had been forever changed. The AI, ever vigilant, spoke again. "Your victory has been recorded. The legacy of Earth has been restored. What shall we do next, Commander Lyra?" Lyra turned to face the AI, a sense of purpose filling her heart. "We rebuild. We prepare. We make sure that Earth never falls again. And we ensure that humanity's legacy is one of strength, not just survival. The galaxy will tremble, just as the ancient message foretold. But this time, humanity will lead." The team gathered around her, united in their resolve. The battle had been won, but the war for humanity's future was just beginning. They would rise once more, not as the underdogs, but as leaders. Earth's legacy would live on, not just as a planet of survivors, but as a force that would shape the galaxy for generations to come. As Lyra looked toward the stars, she knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's might, and now they would see its future unfold. There was a new dawn on the horizon, and with it came the promise of a bright, powerful future for Earth and its people. The universe had been warned. Humanity had risen. And this time, they would not be forgotten.